In a day and age where the sports media landscape is overloaded with fake tabloids and hot takes designed just for clicks, one show cuts through the chaos with pure, unfiltered honesty. From the End to the Bench Network, this is Givin Takes. Every week we go beyond the hype to explore the sports world, tackling the most relevant topics on the board while grinding through our starting nine. So, sit back, relax, and get ready for some real perspectives. Now, here's your host, Nate Miller.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is time for Givin Takes. It is Monday. It is 9:30 p.m., and you are sitting here with me on this fun evening amidst so much happening in sports right now that we're going to get to. I'm very excited that you have found me here, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on my YouTube, Givin Takes, whether it be on the MLB the Bench Network's YouTube. Regardless of how you're finding me, I am glad you did. And I'm very excited to talk about sports with everyone today. And before we get into it, make sure follow the social medias. You see the ticker at the bottom. I'm at Givin Takes on both TikTok and Instagram. You can follow the MLB the Bench Network at ETB Network on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And if you're watching the live stream on YouTube, you are already, in tune to what the YouTube is. But if you don't, just youtube.com/the ETB Network. Now, we are, like I said, amidst a lot of fun sports stuff going on right now. A lot to talk about what's happened. A lot to talk about in terms of what's coming up. There's a lot to get to. I'm not going to beat around the bush any longer. I'm going to get right into this episode's starting nine. On the 13th episode of Givin Takes, I'm very excited as it gets up on the screen, waiting for it to load. So, you, the lovely audience, can be able to see it. And there it goes. Leading off, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears moving to Indiana. They're not going to be playing in Chicago at Soldier Field anymore. So we're going to be talking about that. Second, the Knicks are on fire right now, up 2-0 in the series against the Spurs. They're playing game 3 right now. The Spurs currently lead that game by 3 points, 47-44, with 5 left in the second quarter. We'll be keeping tabs on that game as we go along here over the course of the next hour and change. Then for our third topic, I'm going to be giving you my World Cup picks. Now, this is not going to go all the way through like the knockout stage. This is just going to be my group stage picks, how I have all the standings going, and then my 8 third-place advancing teams. Our fourth topic, we're going to take an early look ahead into the NFL season, and I'm going to give you my standings predictions for each division. Real quick, not thinking too much into the schedule because we're too far away to get that nitty-gritty because so much more can still happen. But these are my way too early NFL standings predictions. And then in the 5 spot, we're going to be talking about some dark horse teams in the MLB. I got 3 teams for you that I think are kind of long shots at the moment, but if they put it together, could win the World Series. Then 6th, I got power rankings for the MLB. I made a tier list / power rankings to show you guys. I'll show that off in place of the standings check-in this week, something a little different, and we'll go through how I have each team ranked 1 to 30. Then 7th, we're going to be talking about the San Antonio Spurs, the group of men who are tasked with putting out the red-hot Knicks right now. They're down 2-0 in the finals after playing the first 2 games at home. Needs to be talked about. What went wrong? What can be fixed throughout the course of this game 3 and throughout the rest of the series, however many games it may go. Then in the 8th spot, as always, it's the 3 studs of the week. I'm going to give you 3 guys in the MLB that I thought had a good week this week. We're going to talk about why. Then 9th, the staple topic. I did it last week. I wanted to do it again this week. We'll see how it goes. Your takes. You got to take about anything. Could be sports related, could not be sports related. Whatever comes to your mind, drop the take in the chat. Regardless of what you're watching on, it'll get filtered through to me. I could read them off. So if you have a take at any point throughout the episode, drop it in there. I'll get to it then. And then slight change at the bottom. You're all used to top 10s. Well, last week I didn't have a top 10, unfortunately. My episode ran long, and I didn't want the episode to, be 2+ hours. So because of that, we're doing a top 20 this week. I'm making up for last week's lack of list with double the amount of things to rank this week. So I'm excited to get into it. It's a big top 20. It was a tough one to rank, but I think I did a pretty decent job at it. And we're just going to get right into it now. So without further ado, let's get started with our leadoff topic. The Indiana Bears. That's right. That's basically what you could call them now if you really wanted to, because they are making the move out of Chicago and into Indiana. This was announced earlier this week that this move was going to be getting made. They voted to advance plans to build a new multi-billion-dollar stadium in Hammond, Indiana. They're going to be leaving Chicago behind, and it feels kind of weird. The Chicago Bears aren't going to be playing in Chicago. I mean, they keep the name, of course. That obviously makes a lot of sense. But it just kind of feels off in a way, not having the Bears in Chicago. I mean, I'm no Chicago Bears fan. I'm clearly a Steeler fan, if you weren't able to guess by all the stuff I have in my background. But I don't know. I would be pretty upset. Like if the Steelers moved to like West Virginia and they were the Charleston, or they were the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they like played in West Virginia. Like I would hate that. I don't know if there's that kind of state rivalry between Chicago and Indiana like there would be between Pennsylvania and West Virginia. But in the same token, it doesn't feel right. I mean, they've been the Chicago Bears for the entirety of their 106-year history because failed negotiations with Illinois lawmakers is what led to this happening. And as I said, this is going to be the new stadium for Chicago is now going to be in Hammond, Indiana. That's just about 30 miles outside of Chicago. It's in northwest Indiana. It's going to be a $5 billion dome stadium project, and it's being heavily backed by the Indiana taxpayers. The state legislation for Indiana approved to finance about 60% of the construction costs. So if you want to crunch some numbers, 60% of that $5 billion, that means they're forking over $3 billion to this project. I don't know. If there are any Bears fans in here, you got a thought on it, drop it in the comments. But for me, I find it's not that I don't like it because it's like, oh, you're changing things, but it just feels like it's rough for the fans, like the diehard Chicago natives, like the ones who live in the city or just live in the state that have been Bears affiliated their entire lives, like having Chicago leave you, like I have to imagine that feels terrible. And I want to sympathize. I personally don't have a situation I can relate to it with. I mean, the Penguins almost left for Las Vegas about 2 decades ago, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, the Chicago Bears, basically the Indiana Bears now. I wonder how it will affect a couple things, like attendance, home atmosphere in general. Like, will it still be like as loud and crazy of a place to play as Soldier Field? I'm not sure what the Bears fandom looks like in Indiana. I would have to imagine there's a decent amount of Bears fans there, but I don't know how diehard it is. I'm just curious to see how those things change. Will it still feel like the same Soldier Field? Like, I don't know, will Packers fans potentially out-dominate Bears fans in Indiana? Like, if it's a Chicago Bears home game against the Packers, like, are they going to be able to get more fans there? Are Chicago still going to be able to show up in sums like they've used to and just really dominate like the volume and the crowd at home games? I don't know. I'm very interested to see how it plays out. It's going to be weird not having games at Soldier Field in the future or just football in Chicago. It's one of the cornerstone franchises in the NFL. So it's rough to see it happen. You don't want to see it, but that's just how sports go. Sometimes even when you don't think a move is possible, that any team could never relocate. I mean, something like this happens and the Chicago Bears relocate to Hammond, Indiana. So it's a quick story. It's something that's definitely noteworthy of talking about, that they're moving, but I feel for Chicago fans because that must be rough. So now I'm going to stop talking about the Bears there and get ready to move on to our second topic. The New York Knicks are on fire. And just in case you weren't aware, if you're following the NBA, you should be aware of the type of run the Knicks are on right now. But just in case you weren't, let me fill you in. They've won 13 games in a row. They were down 2-1 in the series to Atlanta going into Game 4, and they came back and won that series in 6. That's the first 3 wins. Then they swept Philly to take it to 7. Then they swept Cleveland to take it to 11. And now they've won the first 2 games of the finals at San Antonio in their first series being the lower seed. This is the first time all postseason the Knicks have had to play games 1 and 2 on the road, and they won both to get their winning streak to 13. Currently in that game against the Spurs right now at MSG, it is currently 54-50. There's 3 minutes left in the second quarter. That's a close one. And the Knicks aren't really used to having close ones. Over the course of this win streak, their average win margin is 21 points. That's right, 21 points. And in case you were wondering, these are the scores to those games and how they've shaken out. They've won 114-98, 126-97, and 140-89 against the Hawks. In their series against the Sixers, it was 137-98, 108-102, 108-94, and 144-114. Then, in their series against the Cavaliers, they won 115-104, 109-93, 121-108, and 130-93. And then in these last 2 games against the Spurs, they've won 105-95 and 105-104. Over the course of that win streak, 3 single-digit wins. That's it. The rest of them, double-digit. 3 single-digit wins, 10 double-digit wins, all in the postseason. As I said, the average win margin over the duration of this streak is 21 points. And when you look at the entirety of the playoffs, their point differential is plus 282. They have won by a combined 284 points this year in the playoffs, and their 2 losses to the Hawks were both by 1 point for a -2 in that sense. So the positive 284, the -2, they're plus 282 in the playoffs. It's unheard of. So what the question now becomes is, how do the Knicks end up after all of this? How is it going to unfold down the stretch against the Spurs? How long does this win streak keep up? I'm going to drink some water and let everyone else ponder that question real quick. I think it ends either game 3 or game 4. I can't imagine a world in which the Spurs get swept by the Knicks. And that's not me trying to hate on the Knicks. I just genuinely think that the San Antonio Spurs are too good of a team to lose 4 straight. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Knicks fans out there are really happy about how they're performing right now, which makes sense. You should be. You've played very, very well these first 2 games. But also, a couple things go differently for the Spurs that we'll talk about a little bit later whenever I get to the Spurs State of the Union. The Knicks aren't really dominating in this series. Now, that's not to discredit the Knicks at all. I still have a lot of faith in the Knicks to go out and win this series. I think they can most definitely do it. But I don't think they finish off with a 15-game winning streak in the postseason. I would love to see it happen. I love watching history be made in sports. Like, trust me, I'm all for it. I would love for this to happen. I don't know. I don't think San Antonio loses both of these games at MSG. It's going to be tough not to because Knicks got all the momentum in the world. The Knicks fans that are there, they believe, they're in on the hype train. The crowd's going to be loud. The players are going to be amped. But it's Victor Wembanyama and those San Antonio Spurs. I think they're too good of a team to get swept. We'll see if I end up being right. And if you were watching this show back around episode 10, I believe it was, I made the picks. I filled out or I think maybe episode 8 or 9, actually. I filled out my NBA postseason bracket. My champions were the Spurs. I had the Knicks going out in the Eastern Conference Finals, but my champions are the Spurs. So it would be nice if they could win. I don't think they will at this point, but maybe the Knicks can make it interesting. Or the Spurs can make it interesting. The Knicks are dominating. But with that all being said, we are now going to stop talking about the Knicks and move over into a sport that, I'll be honest, I know significantly less about than basketball. And that is soccer or football, depending on what you call it. I'm going to be making my World Cup picks, actually. It's my World Cup picks. I don't know why it says World Cup intros. Must have been rushing when I put these in earlier. But this is where I talk about the World Cup. So I have gone through and I have picked the group stages for each of the 12 groups, and I also have my 8 third-place teams that I have advancing. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to put up on the screen how I have them ranked. I'm not going to talk about them all too much just because, I'll be totally honest, I don't know all that much about soccer, like, in general, like, across any of the leagues, let alone at a world level. So I know a little bit. I have a general idea of who tends to be good, and also I kind of equate this to someone that never really watches college basketball, but kind of knows like the standard, this is who's good, this is who's not, and they fill out a March Madness bracket. That's kind of how I feel about filling out a World Cup bracket, but it's still fun. It's going on in the U.S. this year. There was no shot I didn't go in and make some picks and do it on the show. So I made these picks earlier, and I'm going to put Group A on the screen for you now. So in this Group A, as you can see, I have Mexico finishing in first. I have Czechia finishing in second. I have South Africa finishing in third, and South Korea finishing in fourth. Now, I don't, like I said, people may point and laugh at me in the comments and be like, dude, this is terrible. How do you have these picked? Listen. I think the numbers on the side are the team's rank in the world. So that is kind of what I based it off of in my ranks. And if I know anything about large brackets and pools like this, they're upsets and things that you don't expect to happen. So I believe that means South Korea is ranked the 25th best team in the tournament right now. I have them finishing last in their group. A bit of an upset there, but I believe there is going to be chaos on U.S. soil this year. So Mexico, I have them winning that group. Then in Group B, this group right here, I got Switzerland finishing in first place. I got Canada finishing in second place. I got Qatar finishing in third. And I have Bosnia and Herzegovina finishing in fourth. Now, I don't think these are the hottest of takes necessarily. This one's pretty straight up. This one goes by the numbers. You could kind of call this one chalk if you wanted to. I wouldn't blame you, but this felt safe to me. I think the Swiss tend to be pretty good in these types of tournaments. Canada seems like they have a pretty good team, so I have those as my 2 teams from Group B that will be advancing to the knockout round. Then in Group C, I have Brazil, obviously, finishing in first. If there's one thing I know about hockey, it's that Brazil tends to be in the mix and pretty darn good. So I have them winning Group C. I have Morocco finishing second in this group, then Scotland finishing third, and Haiti finishing in fourth. Moving on to Group D, my country's bracket. Probably most of the people watching country's bracket. I don't imagine I have too much international reach yet. I got the United States winning this bracket. I got this group. I got faith in the red, white, and blue. Then we got the Aussies finishing in second. I got Paraguay finishing in third, and Turkey finishing in fourth. I have a lot of faith in the U.S. this year. I think they're going to be a team that actually goes pretty far. If memory serves, I believe they were knocked out by the Netherlands, maybe they were knocked out by in the knockout round last World Cup. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while, but I have faith that the U.S. is going to go on a run this year. I hope they go on a run. It would be pretty cool. I've never seen the U.S. succeed that much in the tournament before, so I'm excited to see what they have in store for this year. In Group E now, I got Germany finishing in first, the Ivory Coast coming up just behind them in second, and then Ecuador finishing down in third, and then Curacao finishing in fourth. Then in Group F, first place in Group F, I have the Netherlands. Behind them in second, I have Japan. In third place, I have Sweden. And in fourth place, I have Tunisia. Then moving into Group G, the 8th of the 12 groups. First place, I have Belgium. Second place, I have Egypt. Third place, Iran. Bit of an upset there, the 29th best team over the 21st. And then in fourth place, it's never good to be ranked 85th. There's not many things that's good to be ranked 85th in, honestly. It's hard to find one. So unfortunately for New Zealand, that ranking of 85, it's hard for me to say you're going to finish as well as, the teams rated 9, 21, and 29. So New Zealand, I'm sorry, but I have you in last. Now, for Group H, I have Spain, number 2 seeded team or ranked team. I'm not sure if it's a seed or a rank. Finishing in first, Uruguay finishing in second, Cape Verde finishing in third, and Saudi Arabia finishing in fourth. Moving on now to Group I have France finishing in first, last World Cup's runner-ups. In second, I have Senegal. In third, I have Norway. And in fourth, I have Iraq. And now moving on to Group J. Getting it up on the screen here. I have the reigning champions of the World Cup, Lionel Messi and Argentina, finishing in first. Then I have Algeria finishing in second. Then Austria finishing in third. And Jordan finishing in fourth. And now moving on to Group K. In Group K, I have Portugal finishing in first, Colombia finishing in second, Congo finishing in third, and Uzbekistan finishing in fourth. And now finally, the last group that I have picked to show you is Group L. We got Croatia finishing in first, an upset over England, who I have finishing in second. Then Panama, I have them finishing in third. And then Ghana, I have them finishing in fourth. So those were my World Cup picks. Went through all 12 groups. I have those picked. Once the knockout round gets all sorted out, or actually before I get to that, I will give you my 8 third-place advancing teams. Those 8 teams in third place that I have advancing are Scotland, Paraguay, Ecuador, Sweden, Iran, Norway, Austria, and Panama. Those are the 8 teams that I have advancing out of third place into the knockout round to join the 24 who advance from the group stage. And once the knockout round gets announced, as I was saying earlier, I am going to make a bracket where I just fill out the knockout round after the seeds are already set. It's too much speculation to try to figure out who would place or who would face who with my own just group predictions. So I am just going to wait to do that on a different episode of Givin Takes. This one was just the group picks. So now moving on to the fourth topic. We are going to be making some early NFL standings predictions. The NFL season is kind of right around the corner. I don't know when it happened, but we are there. And the NFL season, I mean, we are in late June already, and it is just crazy to think about the fact that, late August, early September, football gets going. That's like 2 months away. So I believe it's 14 weeks. So more than 2 months, actually. I think I saw something that was like it was 14 more Sundays till NFL season started. I don't remember exactly, but we're getting close, guys. We are getting close. So I'm going to go through each of the 8 divisions, and I'm going to give you just really early on, hey, this is how I think these divisions are going to shake out. I'll do this again at some point when we get closer to the NFL season and I look more closely into the schedules and there are more rosters finalized and question marks that have been answered. So I guess questions that have been answered, not question marks. You don't answer a question mark, but what I am going to answer is your question of what are your ranking or what are your standings predictions, Nate? Well, here, I'm going to give them to you now. I'm going to start with the AFC North and my Pittsburgh Steelers. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the AFC North this year. I have the Baltimore Ravens finishing in second, the Bengals finishing in third, and the Browns finishing in last. The Steelers, they were the best team in the division last year. They won the division thanks to Tyler Luke missing a very unfortunate field goal for Baltimore. Very fortunate for me. That I think about that field goal and I smile a lot. It was pretty awesome when that happened, but the Steelers, I have them winning this division because they were the best team, like I said, and they got better, in my opinion. They saw their weaknesses, which I believe were head coach and wide receiver mostly, and they changed. They got Mike McCarthy in there, a new head coach, and then we went out and we got Michael Pittman Jr., helped the wide receiver core. We got Rico Dowdle. We bolstered up the defense a little bit. I think the Steelers, like I said, they're the best team. They got better. The Ravens, the only reason I have them finishing in second and not worse is because you still have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, even though you lost a couple of other guys to the Giants and other places across the NFL. They're also going to have a first-year head coach, which I think it'll pan out well for the Steelers. Obviously, it might not pan out well. You run the same kind of risk with Baltimore. So I have them finishing second, though, because regardless of what happens to them, there's no way they're worse than the Bengals and Browns. The Bengals aren't going to be able to play a lick of defense this year, but their offense is going to be amazing, as always. And the Browns are going to be the exact opposite, I think, even after losing Myles Garrett. They're still going to probably have an above-average defense and a below-average offense and not be able to win many games. So, if you took the Bengals offense and paired it with the Browns defense, you would have a Super Bowl team. But unfortunately, you can't do that. So that's going to be the longest I talk about a division. That's just because it's AFC North ball. I like to talk about it a little bit more, but that's how I have the AFC North finishing out. Then in the AFC South, I got the Texans winning that division. I think their defense is going to carry them this year. Then I got the Jaguars finishing in second, the Colts in third, Titans in fourth. This one's pretty straight up. The Colts are going to try to recapture some magic from the first half of last year. I don't think they're going to quite be able to, so I got them finishing in third because I still think the Jaguars are a very good team, but I just think the defense of Houston is, regardless of the offensive product they put out, I think that defense is just going to win them so many games they shouldn't win otherwise, so I have them winning that division. Then in the AFC West, I have the Broncos winning that division, then Chargers, then Chiefs, then Raiders. That's the same way it finished out last year, I believe. And I'm going with it to finish the exact same way. I think the Chiefs are going to be hobbled this year and just subpar with or without Mahomes. I don't know how much time he's going to miss with the injury that ended last season for him. I'm pretty sure he's slated to miss time. I'm not sure how much, if he is, but they'll be better than the Raiders. I think the Raiders make their jump into like third place or second place next year or the year after. I don't think their first year with Mendoza is going to be the one. And then Chargers and Broncos, they're both going to be 2 playoff teams this year. I just think Denver's defense is going to, similarly to Houston's, be a big factor as to why they win a lot of games this year and ultimately their division. Then In the AFC East, I have the Buffalo Bills finishing in first. I have the New England Patriots finishing in second. I have the New York Jets finishing in third. And then I have the Miami Dolphins finishing in fourth. I think Miami's going to try to tank for the number 1 overall pick this year and get Arch. And I think the Jets with Geno Smith, I mean, I know the Raiders were abysmal last year, obviously. It's why they got the number 1 overall pick. But Geno Smith, I think these are going to be the 2 worst teams in the league. These will probably be the first and second overall picks in next year's draft. But I think the Jets just barely finish ahead of the Dolphins. Like, I think the Dolphins probably have 3 wins and the Jets have 4, or the Jets have 5 and the Dolphins have 4, something like that. I think the Dolphins barely finish worse than the Jets. I know they have Malik Willis and that the Dolphins are looking like they're going to be a good team, but I just don't feel like there's anything Miami has going for it whatsoever. I don't know. I'm very pessimistic. I mean, they have Achane, but still, I think I got the Dolphins in last. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but I got the Dolphins in last. Now moving on to the NFC. In the NFC North, I got the Indiana Chicago Bears finishing in first. I got the Detroit Lions making a jump up from last year and finishing in second. I got the Packers finishing in third amidst question marks surrounding Josh Jacobs. And then in fourth, I have the angry QB room of Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota with the Vikings. It's very clear J.J. does not like that he probably won't be starting and that Kyler will. And it just, I don't know, energy like that when it's in locker rooms or whether it be a locker room, a clubhouse, like whatever sport it is, when there's a guy in there that thinks he should be the one on the field, not the one on the bench, and he kind of openly pouts about it, that tends to create problems, and those problems don't typically lead to wins. So I'll just leave that there. Bears, I think Ben Johnson's a fantastic head coach. He'll win them a decent amount of games this year. I think the Bears, Caleb Williams looks good. The offense looks good. Defense looks good. There's not many holes on the Bears right now. So I like them to win. And I'm shaking things up with the Lions and the Packers. I know the Lions are probably looking more like the third place team in most people's eyes, Packers in second. But I think the Lions have a bounce back year in what's a very big year for that organization in terms of winning games and getting something done before you got to start paying more guys and figuring out more contracts and potentially hiring a new head coach even. Whew. All right, now let's get into the NFC South. The Panthers are, I'm going to say this before. This was the toughest division for me to pick. I think any one of these 4 teams can win the division, and any one of these 4 teams could also finish in last. Like, I cannot make heads or tails of this division no matter which way you cut it. So this is, honestly, every time I ranked this, I wasn't really happy with how I finished it. I was like, oh, that doesn't really feel right. Like, this team should be there. And I went through like 12 iterations of how I have this, and this is just the one I landed on. It will most definitely change as we get closer to the season because this is a tough one to pick. But I landed on the Panthers winning this division, the Saints finishing in second, the Buccaneers finishing in third, and the Falcons finishing in last. These are 4 teams with, I think, 4 competent quarterbacks in Penix, Mayfield, Shaw, and Bryce Young. 4 quarterbacks who can man the offense and man it well. 4 defenses that are pretty solid. I mean, the Falcons were like, they were mathematically eliminated in like week 15 or something, but down the stretch, they won all the games they needed to where if they had lost one less game, they would have like gotten a playoff spot. Like, so the Falcons came alive last year, but they lost Kirk Cousins. I believe in Penix, but we'll see how they do without Kirk Cousins because, you know, you're losing a quarterback. That's just, now it's solely going to be Penix this year. No option to go to Cousins. Like, there's, that safety net for Penix is gone this year. So just because of that, that was kind of the best justification I could give for a team finishing in last. So I have the Falcons. And I think the Saints are a bit of a surprise team this year. Now the NFC West, probably the best division in football, if you were to ask me. I have the Rams winning this division. I think they're the best team in football. I think this is the best division, like I said, and I think they're going to win some impressive games this year, probably be the 1 seed in all of football. Then I got the Seahawks finishing second, Super Bowl champions. I think they definitely make the playoffs. They're probably the 5 seed. And they reverse roles with how things were with the Rams last year, maybe an NFC championship at a different location this year, but a rematch. Then I got the Niners finishing in third, potentially making the playoffs. I'm not sure how I feel about the Niners this year. And then the Cardinals finishing in last. And then finally, my hottest take for a division winner in the NFC East, I have the New York Giants. That is right. You did not mishear me. You do not need to tune the dial on your television to make sure the audio is coming in correctly. No, the New York Giants. Every year there seems to be a team that was terrible that just takes a leap either to the top of their division or into being a really good wild card spot. And it might sound crazy, but I think with all of like the hype surrounding the Jets right now and just the city of New York as well, especially with the Knicks doing good, which, by the way, score update for you. The Knicks are now up 7 at the start of the third, 11:47 left in the third. I think there's just good vibes around New York right now. I think that's going to carry over into football season for the Giants with Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh knows how to win. He's got Dart, he's got Scatabo, he's got Neighbors. He brought in some veterans into the wide receiver room like Juju and Odell. They've made some other good moves. I like their draft a lot, actually. I thought they did pretty nice in the draft. I mean, the Giants have a lot going for them right now. It's going to be like, in my eyes, if the Giants are able to put it together quickly and early in the season, they're going to win this division, because with all the other 3 teams in this division, they're just question marks for me. And how the rest of it goes is I have the Cowboys finishing in second. I have the Eagles finishing in third and the Commanders finishing in last. I think the Commanders are just kind of injury riddled after last year and just in a weird spot where they kind of got to figure some things out, and that's going to lead them back into the basement, unfortunately. I do hope that Jaden Daniels has a good year, though. I want Jaden Daniels to succeed, LSU guy. He's fun to watch play. We all saw what he did his rookie season. It was absolutely phenomenal, but I think they finished in last this year. Eagles in third. I think losing A.J. Brown's going to hurt, because unless Saquon Barkley has an unreal year like he did 2 years ago, I think they're just going to be too easy of an offense to predict, a little bit too one-dimensional, and I just think they're going to falter against league average defense. Then I have the Cowboys finishing in second, because their offense was absolutely amazing last year. They had a phenomenal offense, one of the best in the league, but their defense was absolutely horrific. They were kind of like the Bengals of the NFC, except the Bengals didn't do what the Cowboys did and actually tried to bolster up the defense a little bit. I don't think the Cowboys made sweeping improvements to where they're like a top team in the league now, but I think they could end up as a low wild card seed. Like I could see them as the 6th seed in the playoffs this year if things pan out for them on defense and they play offense the way they did last year. 100%. So my 8 divisional champions, I'll relay that to you real quick, are the Steelers, Texans, Broncos, Bills, Bears, Panthers, Rams, and Giants. So those are my divisional picks as of now. As more moves get made, things will probably change in my standings, but this is my first gut reaction, initial baseline. Here's how I feel. All right. Now, with those 8 divisions now projected and predicted, I'm going to move on to our 5th topic, which are dark horse teams. These dark horse teams, as I said earlier, are 3 MLB teams that I think are kind of underrated, that I think can go on runs to potentially win, either go on deep playoff runs, potentially win the World Series, depending upon the moves they make. So the first team I have, if it's not obvious, any guesses? It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates, because this team is good. Now, what is standing in the way of the Pittsburgh Pirates winning the World Series, you ask? Why do I have them as a dark horse team and not just, I have blind faith that this team can go win it? Well, the first the first reason is that they're in a really tough division. And because they're in a really tough division, that's just, more good teams. They're playing more frequently. That's potentially more losses than they should get, which hurts them in the standings a little bit. As of early last week, they were the top wild card team in the National League, and now they're a half a game out of the wild card entirely. So that shows you how tight the NL standings are right now. But if the Pittsburgh Pirates are able to bolster their bullpen is atrocious right now. It's god-awful. Might have a State of the Union one day that's just the Pirates bullpen because I'm getting sick and tired of it. But if they fix that bullpen and get a couple of relievers, because you need a couple. One ain't going to do it. You need a couple. You bolster that bullpen, you pick up like one more bat. It doesn't have to be like a flashy superstar, just like solid utility bat, maybe like a more bona fide like left fielder wouldn't be bad for the Pirates. Pick that up. That's how I think the Pirates would be able to go on that deep playoff run. Then in my second spot, my second dark horse team, I'm staying in Pennsylvania. I am going with the Philadelphia Phillies. This team has been on fire since they have fired Rob Thompson and let Don Mattingly take over. I mean, it's been absolutely unreal. I mean, because this is the thing. They had the roster and the guys going into this season. I mean, when I did my preseason power rankings for the MLB, I had the Phillies as World Series contenders, and then they dropped to 9-19, 10 games under. Everyone's writing them off. They make a managerial change, and then slowly but surely they've worked themselves into the conversation of what you guys will see here soon, what I believe are one of the best teams in baseball because of who they have on paper. I think they just started off slow, but I think they're an absolute force that just finally got out of the slump. I mean, you talk about Trey Turner, Adolis Garcia, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Christopher Sanchez, who's having a Cy Young year, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. I know a couple of those guys are having down years, but you're talking about like cornerstone guy. Brandon Marsh is having a phenomenal year. You're talking about guys who have been on this team for multiple years now, and then a couple new guys just finally being able to put it together. And if it wasn't for the slow start, they'd be clear World Series front runners right now because they'd also be close in the standings with the Braves. But unfortunately, they're 9 games back of the Braves right now because of that slow start and how good the Braves have been. But, however, they are up 1.5 games in the wild card. So if the season started today, the Phillies would be the 5 seed in the NL. So that's a team you got to keep your eye out for. That's a team that can definitely go win the World Series. Then in the 6th spot, I looked at the next topic. In the 3 spot for the dark horse teams, I have the Chicago White Sox. A lot of talking about Chicago today. I have the White Sox, and the way they do it is, I mean, they have a little bit of magic. They'll have a lot of first-time guys in the playoffs. So that'll hurt them a little bit in terms of inexperience. But this is a team that could definitely win their division. I mean, right now in the wild card standings for the White Sox, they're currently 2 games up. They would be the 5 seed in the AL if the season ended today. And I know Murakami is hurt right now, and they're 2 games back of Cleveland. But if they can keep this divisional gap between them and Cleveland close, or even potentially overtake Cleveland now while Murakami's injured, when he gets back, they're going to be an even bigger force. And I think they'll need a little bit of help just because there never seems to be a team at the deadline that doesn't make any moves that goes on to win the World Series. So I think the White Sox are going to actually have to be buyers this year. I think you improve on both sides. And that's just because I think it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of help going both ways. Get yourself a pitcher, whether it be starter or reliever. I'm not sure where the weaker area of the White Sox arms are because I don't watch too many White Sox games, I'll be honest. But never hurts to pick up a pitcher and pick up a bat. You've seen Murakami get injured. The lineup's still performing well, but you should have another guy on the bench that is slightly above serviceable in terms of talent, just in case, injuries occur again. So those are my 3 dark horse teams. And now we're going to move on to the 6th topic, which are my MLB Power Rankings. So I'm going to drink a little water because my mouth is running like a train right now talking to you all about sports. I love it, though. I love doing it. Whew. All right, let's get into the power rankings, shall we? I'm going to put these up on the screen now. It's all nice and big there. I'll move it a little bit. Yeah, I'll do it like this, and I'll move on over here. So right here, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. As the worst team in baseball, I have the Colorado Rockies, and then I go the Angels at 29, the Royals at 28, the Tigers at 27, the Giants at 26, and the Red Sox at 25. I think this is pretty clear cut. It's not very... none of them are very hot takes. I think these are clearly the 6 worst teams in the league, all either at the bottom or second to last in their division because there's an even worse team in their division than them. These are 6 bad teams. I don't know how many of these teams are going to be getting that much better. I'm kind of surprised to see that in June, some of these teams are all the way down here. Like I wouldn't have expected the Red Sox, Giants, Tigers, and Royals to be bottom 6 teams. Like those 4 being down here kind of surprised me. And then in 19 through 24, starting at 24th, I have the Minnesota Twins. You could argue that the Twins are better than they are, but I am a Twins doubter. I don't like Derek Shelton. I think he's a terrible manager and that he's going to consistently begin to lose them games. I also think their bullpen is pretty bad, so I just have no faith in the Twins, but their record's solid, so I didn't put them bottom 6. Then we got the Mets at 18. They're playing a little bit better. They're not at 18. I have the Mets at 23. They've been playing a little bit better. Not great. Still bottom 10 in the league. I have the Marlins at 22, slightly above them. Then the Orioles at 21. And then I have, starting off the top 20, as you can see, the Houston Astros. The Astros have been playing better. We're going to talk about one of their guys later on in the episode when we get to 3 studs of the week that has been playing well, but Astros aren't terrible. They're like one of these, the 17th to 20th best team in the MLB. They're all like just okay. They do both things okay in terms of hitting and pitching. They're just very okay. And the Astros are okay. And the Reds at 19 are also okay. They play in a really tough division. I think they are just the worst of the 4 teams, or of the 5 teams. I said at the beginning of the year, I didn't think they got better going in, or I didn't think they got better after last year. And then they had those nice win streaks like in April and then early May. And I was like, oh, maybe they did get better. Now the cracks are beginning to show again. And I am starting to believe I was right. Then I got the Blue Jays at 18th. They've been playing decent. Cubs at 17th. They have fallen on my personal power rankings pretty far over the course of these last few weeks. The 10-game losing streak getting demolished by San Francisco. I mean, it's the Cubs. They're playing some bad teams right now, so it's a little bit easier for them. As I've talked about, 12 straight combined against the Giants and Rockies. So their record will be a bit inflated, I think, for the time being, but they're not fooling me. Then I got the Oakland A's at 16th, or not the Oakland A's anymore, technically, just the A's. I have them at 16th. I think they could be a sneaky playoff team this year. I got the Washington Nationals at 15th, the team that has scored and given up the most runs in baseball. They have scored 352 runs this year, and their run differential is +4. To put that into perspective, the Braves have scored 8 less runs than the Nationals this year, and their run differential is +116. So I put the Nationals right in the middle because they do one thing really, really well and one thing absolutely terribly. So Nationals are in the middle at 15th. Then I got the Rangers at 14th. I think they could win their division this year. Honestly, same thing kind of goes for the Athletics. It's a tight division with the Mariners right now. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then I got the Diamondbacks at 13th behind the Padres at 12th. Those guys, I know the Diamondbacks are currently a half a game up on the Padres. So standings-wise, technically, the Diamondbacks should be above the Padres here, but I think the Padres are going to have a better, more consistent team throughout the year. I don't think that about the Diamondbacks. Even though Ketel Marte is playing fantastically, I think that kind of hurts the Diamondbacks, because I think this would be a nice year to trade him. Honestly, you could get a lot of value, but I know they already tried that and it failed, but I don't know. I don't see Arizona as a playoff team this year. They might, though. They might. Then I said I had the Padres at 12. I have the Mariners at 11. I think they're one of the better teams in the AL. They're finally starting to show that they were a team that almost made it to the World Series last year, one game away. They're 14-14 now against teams over 500, and they're 500 on the road now and 3 games over 500 at home. So they've been playing better ball. They are 11th, getting into the top 10 now. I have the Cardinals, who are 7 games over 500 and 5 back of the Brewers. I don't know how long it holds up. I keep thinking the Cardinals, much like the Reds, are going to eventually fall off a cliff and start playing poorly. But it's June, man. It's June 8th, and it still hasn't happened yet. So I'm starting to give them credit where credit is due. They're playing like a top 10 team in the league. They're the top wild card spot in the National League right now. They're my 10th best team. I have the White Sox at 9. As I said, they're a dark horse team. I think they could go out and win the World Series, and they're playing well right now without Murakami, so they get bonus points for that. I have the Pirates at 8, and you may say, well, is that just bias? You have the Pirates over the Cardinals, and the Pirates are 2.5 games worse than the Cardinals. No, I think the Pirates have a better offense. They put up 333 runs this year. St. Louis has only put up 278. And the only thing that we do worse than St. Louis is pitch out of the bullpen. Outside of that, I think head-to-head, we are a better team. Also, given that we're 2-5 against them this year, it might not be the best argument to make. But I have the Pirates at 8. I have the Rays at 7. They currently hold the best record in the American League at 38-25. Only team with a winning percentage of .600 or better in the American League. But I have a couple of AL teams over them still. I have Cleveland as my 6th best team in the league at 37-30. They got a .552 winning percentage. Run differential is only +1, but Cleveland just always seems to be a team in the mix, finding a way to win the Central. I mean, as long as Jose Ramirez is there, they just kind of seem to have some magic in the water to where they go on nice postseason runs. And I think a mix of that and also what they have on the roster now makes them deserving of this 5 spot. They're a good team. 7 games over 500, as I said, 37-30. I have the Yankees starting off my top 5 in the 5 spot. They're 12 games over 500, half a game back of the Rays for first place in the American League East. The only thing is they lost Judge. Judge is going to be out for a while. He's hurt, so that hurts their rankings a little bit. I probably would have had the Yankees at 3 had Judge still been here, but they don't have Judge. So the only reason they haven't taken a huge dip in the power rankings is because they haven't started to play awful without him yet. I mean, 6-4 in their last 10. Run differential is still +96. They are 4-10 against teams who are better than 500, and no Judge won't exactly help that, but I have them at 5. I have the Phillies at 4 because I think they are a World Series contender through and through now that they're starting to play like how they should with the guys who are on that roster. Talked about them earlier. At 3, I got the Brewers. Miz has been absolutely unreal this year. He's been leading the way on the pitching side of things. That is why they currently lead that division by 5 games over the second-place Cardinals, 7.5 over my Pirates, and the Cubs, 9.5 over the Reds. I mean, you're talking about 4 good teams I just listed there, and Milwaukee's just over 5 games better than all of them. So I have them as my 3 spot. My other 2 teams, as you can see and have seen for a while, are the other 2 division leaders in the NL. I got the Dodgers at 2. I mean, they're just the Dodgers. They got Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Kyle Tucker's having a down year, but he's still Kyle Tucker. He'll probably start to be playing better at some point. Will Smith, Max Muncy. I mean, the list goes on. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. The Dodgers are good. They'll be back in the playoffs this year. But I do not think they are better than what I believe is the best team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves. I think the Braves are the best team in baseball. There's not much more I have to say about it. They have an unbelievable roster. Their pitching has been lights out. As I said earlier, their run differentials plus 116, and they're 10 games over 500 against teams who are better than 500 alone. I mean, they're 11 games over at home. They're 13 games over 500 on the road. Just an absolutely dominant team. They're leading their division by 9 games at the moment. And if the season ended today, they would have the best record in all of baseball, 1 seed going into the World Series. And that is my tier list. Those are my power rankings. I had them there for you. You've had some time to look at them. I hope you enjoyed the graphic. I put a lot of hard work into that. It took me like 5 whole minutes to make that tier list. That's a lot of hard work. Nah, I'm just playing. It was very easy. It's fun, and I plan on doing more stuff like that as we continue to move on throughout this MLB season. Now, moving on into the 7 spot. It's time. You've been waiting for it. It's the 7th topic every week. It's the State of the Union. And this time we are talking about the San Antonio Spurs, who now lead the Knicks by 2. They were down by 7 when I last checked at the start of the 3rd. There's been 7 minutes of game time, and the Spurs have now retaken the lead 80-78 with 4.5 left in the 3rd quarter. Crazy game going on there. I'll give you some box score numbers. Wemby's got 20 points and 6 rebounds on the Spurs side of things. Castle's also got 18 points. Then you look over at some Knicks numbers. Anunoby's got 21. Josh Hart has got 16. Jalen Brunson's got 20. Cat only has 9. And in 19 minutes, Mikal Bridges has 0 points. He's only taken 1 shot, and it was a 3. So that's interesting. That's something that we'll keep keeping an eye on as we wrap up the show here. But let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, how did you get here? I mean, there's still a very real possibility that I know they're leading right now, and Bridges has got no points. Cat's only got 9. It looks good for Spurs fans. But there's a very real possibility that the Spurs are walking out of MSG tonight down 3-0 on the verge of getting swept. That's not where I think anyone thought they would be. I mean, they're down 2-0 in the series, and I've heard a lot of people put Wemby's mentality into question, and including Wemby himself, I think for good reasons. Just because, I mean, he said that even he himself said he thinks he got a little too overhyped about beating the Thunder, or maybe cared too much about beating the Thunder. He was talking about that a little bit. I thought that was very interesting. And there might be some truth to it. I mean, if he might have cared more about beating the Thunder and winning the West and getting to the dance than actually winning the finals, and maybe not realized until we got to the finals. And maybe he just didn't have that same natural instinct and drive that he did against the Thunder. I don't know. I mean, the Knicks did have the matchup advantage going into it, which is also a thing. I believe they went 4-1 or 3-1, something like that, against the Spurs in the regular season. And Wemby just needs to find that Thunder hunger and mentality and unlock that and start playing like that again. And 20 points through, I'll give you how many minutes he's played, as the Spurs currently lead by 2. 27 minutes, he's put up 20 points, 8 for 13 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. I mean, Wemby's having a good night. He's not crashing the boards like you'd think. He's only got 6 at the moment, but we still have a whole quarter and then some to play. So a lot can change. A lot's going to happen. But let's talk about how we got to this Game 3. Game 1, final score, as I said earlier, was 105-95. The problems that I saw in this game. The first is the fact that Victor Wembanyama got out-rebounded by Josh Hart. You can't have that happening. You can't have that happening. I was trying to think of a different way to put it maybe. You can't. You cannot have that happening. Josh Hart, I mean, you are over 7 feet tall. I get Josh Hart is a menace, and he does these types of things, but honestly, man, that's absolutely inexcusable. Like, you just cannot have that happening. So that was, I think, a big reason why they lost game one. A couple of other things are that I got pulled up here. Brunson, he missed time in that game with injury. Like, he had time off the court. You had time, like a significant amount of time where you were playing the Knicks without Brunson, and you still managed to lose that game. 12 of Wemby's 26 points came from the free throw line. He only put up 14 points on the floor. I mean, and you compare that to tonight, he's got 18 points on the floor already. Is the Spurs currently lead 84-81. So Wemby wasn't scoring enough on the floor that game. Too many of his points were relying on free throws. And then De'Aaron Fox only put up 7 points. That's just not enough. I mean, when you're starting, you can't be only putting up 7 points. De'Aaron Fox needs to be more productive. And in terms of his points tonight, De'Aaron Fox has 6 points. So he's still not being very productive. Then in game two, it was a 1-point victory for the Knicks. And honestly, the Spurs had that game. But Wemby had a rare, like, crumble under pressure. He had a turnover late, and then he had a game-winning shot in his hands. He had the ball with time expiring, and he missed it. He hit it off the back of the rim. So Wemby could have won that game for the Spurs, taken over, had a moment, tied the series up at 1, but he wasn't. Like, the Spurs kind of beat themselves down the stretch there. Wemby is a little bit more to blame for this loss than I think he typically is on a normal Spurs loss. So that was tough about that. It was a mid-range jumper, and just like I said, Wemby just needs to be Wemby. He needs to get his mindset back to what it was when he was playing the Thunder, or make whatever changes he thinks he needs to get back into that Thunder mindset. And also, the supporting cast just has to support a little bit better. I mean, Stephon Castle's playing well tonight. He wasn't playing exactly amazingly before that. And then you got like guys like Vassell, who you need to play a little bit better. De'Aaron Fox has not been playing good. You're going to need him to play a little bit better. So it's a lot, but as I say, as we talk about it, the Spurs lead game 3 right now against the Knicks at MSG. Will we see the away team go start 3-0 in this postseason? Will the Knicks even it up, or will the Spurs even it up? Will we see them start 4-0 on the road? There's a lot of questions to be answered, a lot of fun stuff that's going down, and my episode will most certainly be over before that Knicks game ends, but I still have a tab open, so I'll be giving you a couple more updates as we switch off of our State of the Union. That was the State of the Union for the San Antonio Spurs, and switch into our 8th topic, which is my 3 studs of the week. I'm excited to give you these 3 studs of the week. One of them, I haven't been doing this intentionally, but I kind of realized that my small stud of the week just typically tends to be like my favorite pitching performance, or the pitcher who I think did the best. So I think that's kind of standard for small stud, is like my favorite pitching performance. You can tend to equate the two. But my small stud for this week is Tanner Bibee. In his start versus the Texas Rangers, he had 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and he did it all on 87 pitches. Then my medium stud, I'm giving it to Pete Crow Armstrong on the Chicago Cubs. Didn't have the flashiest week in terms of lighting up the box score and the stat sheet, but honestly, it was about how he bounced back in the performances he had after giving up inside the park home run to Shea Langoliers. I mean, you thought it was over after that. PCA, like, just getting all the overrated chants when he's on the road. Like, if you're a fan, you're starting to think and maybe believe, like, oh, like, maybe PCA really ain't what he used to be. But no, that all changes because he walks off the Oakland I gotta stop saying the Oakland Athletics. They're not the Oakland Athletics. He walks off the Athletics in the game where he also surrendered the walk-off home run or the inside the park home run to Shea Langoliers. And then he also hit a walk-off home run while the Cubs were trailing against the San Francisco Giants in the 9th inning. That was a crucial win for them. So that's where I got Pete Crow Armstrong at the medium stud. And then for the big stud, I got Yordan Alvarez. I told you we were going to be talking about an Astro. This is where we start talking about him. Big stud Yordan went 10 for 21 this week. That's a .476 batting average over the course of 25 plate appearances. He had 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, a double. He drew 5 walks. He scored 6 runs, tallied 17 total bases, and only struck out 1 time. An absolutely amazing offensive performance from Yordan this week, and well deserving of the big stud. Yordan, I believe, is making a very strong case for American League MVP this year. I think I might do some award predictions next week on the show for MLB. Some about a third of the way through, predict who will win each of the 8 major awards, Manager of the Year for both leagues, and then Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year for both leagues as well. I'm thinking I'll go through and do those next week, and I might pick Yordan, man. He's having one heck of a year, and if he gets traded to a contender and all those big swings start meaning more and more, I think we could see a Yordan MVP. But those were my 3 studs of the week. As I said, small stud was Tanner Bybee for his performance against Texas. Pete Crow Armstrong and his 2 walk-off hits this week. And then the big stud, Yordan Alvarez, for just absolutely lighting up the stat sheet. Now, moving on to the 9th topic, the final topic. This is where you, the fans listening, watching the show, get to tap in, give your 2 cents, and have it up if you desire. It's your takes. It's your takes because I sat here the whole time. I gave you takes that I had about a plethora of things that are going on throughout the sports world. And this is a time where I read any that get dropped off to me in the comment section. Actually having trouble loading the comment section at the moment. All right, I'm sorry. I can't get the comment section up. I'm having trouble with that. So if you did have a take in there, I apologize. I can't seem to get that to work. But that is okay. And that is okay because we still have a lot to get through, even though I can't access those takes that I know you all have right now. But however, I can move in to the finale of this episode. So last week we had your takes, but we didn't have the top 10. This week, I can't figure out a way to get your takes, but I can get started. Oh, we do have a comment. College baseball has been amazing for upsets. I haven't been following it too closely. I've been more keyed into and tuned in on the MLB as of late, but it's been good. I mean, college baseball has been fun. UCLA being eliminated by St. Mary's twice is great. I mean, it's been very fun to go through and watch, and I'm excited to see how the 8 teams duke it out in Omaha. But as I was saying, I will get us going with the first ever top 20 I've had on this show. Final score update I'll give you before moving into the top 20. Got the Spurs winning by 1. They are currently up 92-91 at the end of the 3rd quarter. That is setting up for a fantastic finish. I owe you guys a top 10 list, or I actually owe you 2 top 10 lists, technically, as of this 13th episode of Givin Takes, lucky number 13. And I figured might as well combine them into one and do a top 20 list. Now, this is a very loose top 20 because this is something that's kind of hard for me to rank. It's a little difficult because there's so many of them, and I love so many of them that it makes it tough. I picked my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time. Now, this is not an easy list, as I said. Outside of like the top 6, honestly. You could probably move a lot of these all over the place and it would still be a solid list for me. But I'm not going to elaborate too much on each of my picks just because I've assumed you've heard of most of these shows. And also, if I were to break down each of these 20 picks, we'd be here for about another half hour. So I'm just going to go through and give you my list loosely of what are my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time. Number 20, I have Adventure Time. I was a Cartoon Network kid. I grew up with that show. I love that show. Rewatching it, like, as I got older, like in the episodes that they released, like season like 7 and on, when it became more of a cohesive storyline, I enjoyed it a lot. I got Squid Game at 19. I thought it was a really interesting concept, but the ending just fell flat. I really enjoyed those first 2 seasons and most of season 3, honestly. At 18, I have That 70s Show. I think just because of the amount of times I've watched that show in my life, I probably watched that show at least 4 times. I'm a big binger, and I used to watch that show a lot. So I got That 70s Show at 18. I have The Middle at 17. It's a show I haven't watched in a long time, but I really, really used to like it. So I'm giving it some credit. I'm putting it at 17. I got The Simpsons at 16. And this is because there are some really, really good episodes of The Simpsons, but there are also some really, really bad ones just because of the sheer amount of volume that they got. So the bad, unfortunately, now as time has gone on, outweighs the good, like I said, in terms of volume. So I got The Simpsons down at 16. I got Avatar: The Last Airbender at 15. I honestly could probably see myself moving this one up a half dozen spots on a second glance, but at the same time, there's so many shows ahead of it that, like, I'm not even sure how I would. But Avatar: The Last Airbender, saw it for the first time less than a year ago, honestly. I think beginning of 2026 actually was the first time I ever watched the show. I know I was late to the party, but it was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed watching that. 14th, I got Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights was a really well-written show. It just kind of got a little meh towards the end, but I still tended to enjoy it. I just think that first season and the beginning of the second season is just so, so good. I got to put it up there. Ahead of that at 13, I got Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones would be so much higher if it ended after 6 seasons or even maybe just 7. But the ending, it was just so bad that I can't really justify putting it up that much higher, because while the first 6 seasons are fantastic, that it is just, you can't be regarded the worst ending in the history of television and crack the top 10. At 12th, I got a comedy. I got Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've watched through Brooklyn Nine-Nine a couple times. That show is absolutely hilarious. Andy Samberg, I think, is great in that. Terry Crews, they're both absolutely hilarious. Love that show. 11th, I got How I Met Your Mother, another absolutely hilarious show. Neil Patrick Harris is Barney, and then Jason Segel is Marshall, both great, absolutely hilarious. At 10th, I have Psych. I don't know if a lot of people may not have heard of Psych. It's a show about a psychic, a guy who pretends to be a psychic detective. It's one of my favorites all time. I love cop shows. Psych at number 10. Great show. Check it out if you haven't. Number 9, I have Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley, I have watched this show so many times. I've binged that show probably at least a half dozen times, just as something to have on in the background while I, would do work or just watch something, or I'd either be watching it while I eat or something, while I'm playing a game, throw it on. I would have Silicon Valley on a lot as a background show, and holds a special place in my heart. I've seen it a lot, and some of the jokes still make me laugh, even though I've heard them several times. At 8, I got Seinfeld, the show about nothing. It's one of my favorites. It's probably in a lot of people's top 5. Doesn't exactly make my top 5, but it's up there. Seinfeld's absolutely hilarious. What more can you say about it? George, Elaine, Kramer, and Jerry, 4 of the most iconic characters in the history of television. Cornerstone piece of media, Seinfeld. I got it at 8. At number 7, I got Entourage. I think Entourage is a brilliantly written show. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I think Ari Gold is one of the most insane characters in all of television. I love how he's played by Jeremy Piven. It's so good. It's it's a great show. There's so many memorable one-liners from Entourage. It's great. Big New York show and LA show simultaneously. I got it at 7. At 6, I have Stranger Things. Stranger Things would have been top 3, probably 1 or 2, honestly, had it not been for the missteps they had at the end. Regardless of it, though, I still love the first 4 seasons so much. I think they're perfect to where it can't fall that far for me because I just think the bulk of that product is good. Then at number 5, I kind of took a cop-out here in a weird way. True Detective, but only season 1. Because True Detective, each season is kind of a different storyline, plot line, with completely new characters, like different universe. So True Detective, but specifically season 1. Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. It's absolutely brilliant television. It's one of the best sequence of 8 episodes I've ever seen in anything ever. From start to finish, it's thrilling, it's engaging, you're on the edge of your seat, it's funny at times, it's super suspenseful, you get a great payoff. I absolutely love True Detective season 1, and it deserves to have a spot on this list because it is a complete collection of media that stands alone, and it stands alone at the 5th spot in the top 5. At 4, I got Better Call Saul. I think I just watched Better Call Saul about 2 years ago for the first time. It was really good. I really enjoyed Better Call Saul. I loved the ending. I think it started slow, but that didn't make it bad. It just continued to build and build to better payoffs, more engaging storylines, and then ultimately you see the fate of Saul Goodman, which I think was done absolutely beautifully. And then at 3, I have the show that spawned Better Call Saul. I have Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad is another show. That's how Vince Gilligan does it. He starts slow, and then he slowly builds it up for bigger and bigger payoffs. I think Breaking Bad had an amazing ending, even though I do have some problems with the finale that I think I've talked about before on another episode of Givin Takes, actually. But there are some problems I have with the finale. But overall, I think Breaking Bad finished amazingly. So many twists that I didn't expect in that show. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time I was watching it. Like, when I started binging it, I didn't want to stop. It was that good. I was super into it. Number 3 on the list. At number 2, I have Invincible. Invincible's still currently airing, but I've actually read the comic for that, and it's one of my favorite stories I've ever read or favorite pieces of media I ever watched as an entire collective through the comics I've read. It's absolutely amazing. The show's just going to keep getting better and better as the comics continue to be adapted. So I factored that part into it a little bit. But also up to this point, the first 4 seasons of the show, I think they are absolutely amazing. All 4 of them, so good. At number 2, one of my favorite shows of all time. And at number 1, I have Regular Show. And I have Regular Show, and I know, like, all right, compositionally and art-wise and story, is Regular Show the most, like, complete, amazing show of all time? Probably not. But I've been watching that show since I was in, like, 4th grade. It stands the test of time. It holds up all these years later. I think when they slowly transition into the more serialized episodes as compared to the, like, episodic episodes that they have at the start of the series, like the serialized ones at the end, I think are just so beautifully written. The ending, I think, is the best finale in the history of television. And I know that's crazy to say, but it is a take that I have. And there's also a lot of shows that I haven't seen. Like, you notice The Sopranos isn't on here. I haven't seen it yet. I'll get to it soon. I'm watching Supernatural right now. That might find its way onto the list after I finish it. That show's got 15 seasons. It takes a while, but Regular Show, it's an amazing ending. I love the characters. Like I said, I've just been watching it a long time. It holds up, and it finds its way to number 1 on my list of roughly what are my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time. This is a pretty accurate list of the shows I like in that order, so I'll read it back to you real quick. 20, Adventure Time. 19, Squid Game. 18, That 70s Show. 17, The Middle. 16, The Simpsons. 15, Avatar The Last Airbender. 14, Friday Night Lights. 13, Game of Thrones. 12, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. 11, How I Met Your Mother. 10, Psych. 9, Silicon Valley. 8, Seinfeld. 7, Entourage. 6, Stranger Things. 5, the first season of True Detective Season 1, or the first season of True Detective. 4, Better Call Saul. 3, Breaking Bad. 2, Invincible. And 1 is Regular Show. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. That was the starting 9 and the top 20. Had some issues with your takes, but it's all right. I'll get it situated for next week. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in. That's what I'm trying to say. Got 288 of you watching here. That's absolutely insane. I mean, there's basketball on right now, and you're choosing to watch me, so I appreciate that. Score of that game right now as well as 98-93 San Antonio over the Knicks at the moment. That one's coming down to it. And I appreciate all of you watching. You'll know where to find me next week. I'll be back here at 9:30 on Monday to give more takes. Here's some of yours. I'll have a top 10 for you next time. It's going to be a fantastic episode. You see the ticker at the bottom. You know where to follow me. You know where to follow the Empty the Bench Network. You know where to follow my show. You got all the information at your fingertips. So if you want to go out, follow me wherever you choose. I very much appreciate. And I also appreciate everyone continuing to tune in and week out, both when it was pre-recorded and now that it's live. We're going to keep this thing going. And as always, I'm incredibly grateful for the support. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'm Nate Miller. And those were my takes.